black people sold black people, white people just paid for it. My great-great-grandmother was sold by her father to another black man, who then sold her to who became her husband, and had kids. Not a white person in sight. So while people are being stuck on, especially when I hear these dumbass things as reparations for slavery, I'm like, dude, slavery was everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
There was slavery in the Arab world, in the Persian world, in the Greek world, in Europe. White, blonde, blue-eyed Polish people were slaves to Germans. White, blonde, blue-eyed Germans. So what are you talking about? Like slavery is something that only black. You guys pay too much respect to racism.
Yeah.
If we were all white or we were all black, we're still going to discriminate.
You know what we discriminate against? Eye color.
Thank you very much.
It's human nature.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
We'll find something. Oh, your ear is too big. I tell people, as long as you're a competition, you're a threat. And as long as you're a threat, somebody will try to do something to remove you. It doesn't matter if you're white or black. And on the opposite side, as long as you can add value, doesn't matter if you're black or if you're white, you will be appreciated or recognized.
You have to have discernment with what you're reading in the book, in the Bible. In the Bible, where you see the word God everywhere, that's a mistranslation by accident on purpose. The original word is God's with an S. It's always with an S when you back engineer the actual word, the translations, you find out it's God's, not God singular. Elohim is also a plural term. It's not a singular term. And you also discover that Yahweh is actually Enlil from the Sumerian cuneiform pantheon, from the Sumerian cuneiform text. He's Enlil. It becomes Yahweh in the biblical text. And just all these correlations between the different ancient characters from the Sumerian text end up in the biblical text. And you find out in the book of Deuteronomy that these gods are fighting each other over resources and people. So if you read, anyone who reads the book of Deuteronomy begins to realize this probably isn't the creator of the universe that wrote this. When God tells people, God is supposed to be all-knowing, all-loving, ain't he the same all the time? Then all of a sudden, you read in the book of Deuteronomy and he's saying, there's one person in this city that doesn't like me. I want you guys to go over there. Now, keep in mind, they've never met these people. Kill the women, kill the children, kill their animals, and bring the spoils of war back to me. Now, what kind of God needs the spoils of war, and what kind of God needs to kill children? There's also a verse in there in the book of Deuteronomy where God tells a man, if you see a woman walking through the land, and you decide to rape her, and the word rape is the actual word, look it up, you can. And if after you rape her, if you decide you want to make her your wife, you can keep her as your wife too. Now you have rape and abduction. Now, you're saying to yourself, the creator of the universe, has all power, all-knowing, omnipotent, omniscient. Why in the world would he write stuff like that or give a man the ability to write stuff like that to put in his book? In some cases, it's not talking about the creator of the universe. We have to be able to discern that. We have to be able to have the eye to see that some of this is manipulation for the power of people to put on top of other people. In the New Testament, Jesus says, honor your slave master. Now, why would we want to honor a slave master? As you would honor me, he says. Do you think Jesus really would say something like that? I don't. I think that his message was pure and clean and clear, that he was trying to usher back a level of Christ consciousness back in humanity. And that's the return. The second return is when we all reach a level of Christ consciousness. That's when Jesus comes back. He comes back in our minds, not in a physical form. And for people to take his words and screw it around to make it okay for slavery, I think that's a big thing where we see now the injection of human minds, not the creator of the universe. So you have to be discerning with the biblical text.
Who is Jesus to you? In your eyes, who is Jesus?
His name is Yashua. Okay, Jesus is first. The J is a recent letter. The J is not that old. So it really was originally Isus, and that name Isus means hail Zeus. Okay, so you're calling on Zeus when you say Jesus. Now, one of the Sumerian people who converted over to the Greek gods. But his name is Yashua, and so Yeshua to me, very powerful person, very spiritual, high level of knowledge, a student of the Egyptian mysteries. When Jesus disappears from the Bible, he actually ends up in Egypt. Okay, you can find this information in a book that was kept out of the biblical text called the Gospel of the Holy 12. And in the Gospel of the Holy 12, he shows up in Egypt, and we know that's a fact because I take people on tour every year to Egypt, and I take them to the house that Jesus lived in. It's a crypt. It's actually worship. People come there to see that bed that he laid in every single year. When I take people there, we take them straight there. And we know the path that he traveled throughout Egypt, because it's a huge sign outside that Coptic church where he lived that shows where he went. Now, when he was in Egypt, what did he go there for? To learn the Egyptian mysteries. Who taught the Egyptian mysteries? Thoth, the Atlantean priest king, the person I wrote this book about. And so Thoth was the teacher of the Egyptian mysteries, or the ancient mysteries, of what it was called. And then he leaves there and he goes to Tibet to learn Qigong and Reiki healing, which was confirmed by the Dalai Lama. And then he heads down into India to learn the mystic arts, teaching reincarnation all the way back. Then the Bible picks him up at the age of 32. I called my son out of Egypt. He shows up on the back of a donkey, proclaims himself to be the Messiah. The name, the kingdom come, But then when you trace back that Lord's Prayer, whose prayer is that? That's the prayer of Ptah. Who's Ptah? Ea Enki from the Sumerian tablets. He wrote that prayer in ancient cuneiform, which then made it all the way into the Bible. And you think you're praying to God, you're saying the prayer of Ptah. So we've been brainwashed. We've been programmed, because for generations, we keep getting handed down this system where we're given this false creation of who we are, and we believe it wholeheartedly. We'll fight for it to the absolute death. People will die over those things that were given to them, not that they came up with on their own initially or originally. Let's start talking about the biblical text. First of all, we're talking about the civilization that lived in Mesopotamia. Now, Mesopotamia is an ancient region which used to, in ancient time, encompass part of Africa. Now, due to the modern era and the redrawing of boundaries, you see where Africa starts, but Africa extended up into the Middle East in that time frame. And these people were part of the African continent. Over time, as Mesopotamia became Iraq and Iran and the Middle East, and there's a whole story behind that, because we know that the Arabs invaded that region. They attacked, they killed a lot of people in order to subdue the land and subdue the area, including Egyptians. And this is not anything that I'm doing to agitate anybody, it's just a fact. They teach you this when you go to Egypt. I mean, the story is right there in Coptic Cairo. The Arabs came in and they slaughtered millions upon millions of Egyptians, and the rest who survived, they forced them to speak Arabic, which is why today most Egyptians have no clue how to speak Egyptian, and they also have no clue what their hieroglyphs actually say. Praying is phenomenal. I pray every single day. See, a lot of people think that I don't believe in God because I don't believe in religion. And the fact of the matter is, and I've said this 1,000 times, but some people are just finding me for the first time, I believe in a creator of the universe, of the multiverse even. Because why? My studies in quantum physics have showed me that there is proof and evidence that we're living inside of a creation. That there is a creator of all, and that this creation is imbued with divine energy. And that divine spark that created everything in the entire multiverse is in every single atom in my body. And because of that, I am divine and the divine is divine. So that means I am God and God is me. We are all God walking in the flesh. As a matter of fact, God is experiencing what it's like to be a human being in the third dimension, walking in the flesh through each and every one of us. There's only one entity. There's only one consciousness. We are all slightly different expressions of the same one consciousness. Separation is an illusion.
What if I told you that before you were born, you made an agreement called the soul contract? A contract that outlines your life's journey, challenges, and relationships. These soul contracts are stored within the Akashic records, the cosmic library that contains everything that has happened in the past, is happening in the present, or will happen in the future. Imagine an entire blueprint of your life, crafted with the wisdom of your higher dimensional self. A blueprint that details all the lessons you need to learn, the people you will meet, and the experiences you must undergo to fulfill your soul's purpose. A roadmap designed for your spiritual evolution, guiding you towards growth and enlightenment. But there is even more. These contracts often include karmic relationships, those souls you've encountered in past lives with unfinished business to resolve. The challenges you face are not random. They're deliberate choices to foster growth, resilience, and wisdom.